Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome back to the Nevers podcast. I'm Laura, and joining me are Chirag and Jason. And
hello.
Hi, guys. And I guess without any further ado, we'll jump straight into this episode.
Okay, so we've got some pretty big news recently dropped. But before we dive into that, what has everybody else been up to since we last recorded?
Laura, you going? Weren't you making a movie when we talked last?
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I was in a film. Well, I was in a film in April, as an extra, which was a really cool thing, which is Sam Mendes' new film coming out, Empire of Light. And then recently, a few friends and I made a short horror film, which has still not been released. It's edited, it's done, it's just not, life just gets in the way. But
that's cool.
That'll be out at some point. We filmed it really in one day, and then we edited it over a few days, and then we've just not put it out. Other than that, just been doing kind of regular work, and then some game streaming and live streaming, talking about anime and stuff.
What about you, Chirag? What have you been up to?
Just kind of having fun, watching television.
What have I been up to? Honestly, I've been focusing on the model making. I was telling, Laura and I we did the live streams in preparation for not this episode. Obviously, the plan was to talk about more episodes. That's neither here nor there. No, I've been focusing on model making because I'm a little burned out of filmmaking and kind of the amount of effort it takes to get things done and not really making any progress. And what I mean by that is that it is what it is, but there's not a lot of personal satisfaction anymore. So I'm kind of focusing on other things, and I've sold a couple builds, so that has been cool. So, actresses from the Nevers have been cast in 2 new upcoming series, but Rochelle Neal, Bonfire, and Viola Predijon, Myrtle, have been busy since filming wrapped on the Nevers this time last year. Neal is set to star as Leah in Lenny Henry's Three Little Birds, a new historical drama from Sir Lenny Henry that chronicles the experiences of the Windrush generation of the British African Caribbean immigrants who came to the UK after the 1948 passing of the British Nationality Act. The series is set to premiere in 2023 on BritBox.
Predijon will star as Thora in the thriller series Never Let Me Go, a drama series inspired by the 2005 science fiction novel of the same name. DNA Productions produces the series with FX Productions and Searchlight Television. Melissa Iqbal, who was a staff writer on The Nevers, wrote the pilot and serves as the showrunner. She also executive produces alongside pilot director Mark Munden, Garland, McDonald, Reich and Maria Fleischer of DNA Productions, and Ishiguro. Carmel Cochrane, CSA, served as casting director.
Well, that's interesting. Excuse me. Your staff writer moving on to their own show. That's always cool.
Yeah, she kept Never in the title as well. I'm glad that some of these folks are getting the launch pad they deserve from being on a major flagship HBO show, because it would have kind of sucked if it just floated into oblivion.
Yeah,
and nothing really happened. But it's good. Even the actress who plays Amalia, she's hitting it pretty mainstream now too. She had that Disney Plus
Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, that's right, Werewolf by Night. It's really good.
By Michael Giacchino, yeah, it was good. And we can talk about that later when we talk about I have things to say about that. So moving into why we're all here. And we can all cry a little as we talk about the fact that, unfortunately, The Nevers has indeed been cancelled.
What?
We were planning to get back together. Dun, dun, dun! We were planning to get back together to discuss the probability of The Nevers not being renewed for a second season based on the aforementioned castings and The Nevers' noticeable absence from HBO Max's upcoming series schedule. However, there's no need for us to speculate anymore. Sadly, we won't get a second season of this fantastic show. As reported by Deadline, The Nevers has officially been cancelled and removed from HBO Max. As we all know, Season 1A premiered and concluded back in 2021. WBD said Wednesday that a number of HBO and HBO Max programmes will be packaged in a new bundle to be sold to third-party free ad-supported streaming. So streaming services. Those shows include The Nevers and Westworld, as well as F-Boy, Ireland, Legendary, The Time Traveller's Wife, and Raised by Wolves. The removal of the shows from HBO Max means that WB Discovery is able to save money in residuals paid to the cast and crews of productions, on top of the money saved by not continuing with those shows at all. That's all from Jennifer Maas of Variety. Money.
Okay, so this is something that Laura and I had discussed when we were doing the live streams, that my belief was they were going to run out the series, and the second half was going to be it. Like they went from 10 episodes to 12 and did a whole bunch of rewrites. I'm like, okay, that sounds like they're preparing to at least wrap up the story in some way in case they don't get a season 2, of course, as we know now. But I mean, there is one good thing, though, is that the last 6 will be aired somewhere.
Yes. ...
I don't want to say people are going to have to pirate it, but
yeah. No, I think the worst thing about these things is that they don't die of natural causes. It's like these are homicides, and it seems like WB or whatever Discovery is at this point a serial killer. Like, and shout out to, by the way, Henry Cavill's Superman, who also just got murdered by the WB.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Rest
my
in peace.
God.
He was really good.
I'm going to miss Henry Cavill's Superman. Like, I always thought Superman was kind of lame, but I liked Henry Cavill's, and I was looking forward to more. But now, I want to say this. I want to qualify that remark with, I am very confident that James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to create a cohesive plan moving forward. But, I mean, Zack Snyder had a plan moving forward.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. I feel like James Gunn is the newest guy to put on the costume of Icarus and just fly directly into the sun. I don't think anybody, like, why would you put yourself in that situation to bite, like, that big of an apple? You're just gonna choke on it. It physically cannot go down a human throat, like, without causing the obstruction of oxygen into your lungs. It's impossible. Just stop.
It's unfortunate. I mean, based on Laura, what you and I talked about before, it's not a huge surprise. I mean,
it's kind of. I think. I mean, I'm kind of in a fog of slight misery, not just because of the cancellation of the Nevers, but because of, just general life stuff, like relationships ending, dumping someone or getting dumped, and it kind of drawing dots in between. It does feel kind of like getting dumped by a cold, cruel corporate, like, boyfriend or girlfriend. It feels like that a little bit. And I mean, I'm sure we all, like, wanted it to live a long, successful life and pass away comfortably in a hospital bed surrounded by loved ones and good ratings. And
yeah, I try not to get too attached anymore because it keeps happening, right? I mean, The Nevers gets canceled and there's, 12 seasons of Young Sheldon?
Damn, shots fired. Bazinga.
Yeah, I think the worry is, like, where it's going to air and how easy it's going to be to watch it. And also, I don't know, any hope of you thinking, after this airs, someone might pick it up, is kind of gone because they've left it so long. All the actors have been cast in various other projects. Like, it's not, this is going to be it, isn't it? This is it. We're going to get our 6 episodes and maybe some answers, maybe more questions. We don't know.
I'm hopeful. I am banking on the last 6. They were, with all the shuffling, someone had the foresight to be like, okay, let's see if we can come up with a reasonably satisfying conclusion to this. That's my expectation of what we're going to see whenever we see it, wherever we see it.
But I think maybe it might be, I don't think we can guarantee that it's canceled for sure. Cause so far what we know is that it's just not going to be on HBO anymore, right? But it's going to be somewhere else. And depending on its performance somewhere else, maybe if it's cheap enough, it might get something moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's just the hardest thing is going to be, even if someone's like, you know what, let's give that a chance, even if like Netflix or whoever wants to pick it up. If the actors have all like moved on and got new contracts and obligations.
But they're still contracted by the Nevers, I think.
They probably told them at the start of season, like of this filming of the season, that it was going to be probably not very successful. Like if they've all been able to go off, I don't know. I don't know how strong the contract would have been. Like I say, I'm hoping for a nice rounded off finish, that we get, some closure, so that we can rewatch, and
that would be nice.
You can watch the season as a whole and it's like an enjoyable experience, because I don't know, I will still watch like something like True Calling that has one season and ends on a massive cliffhanger. It's an enjoyable show still, but it's just saddening knowing that it goes nowhere. It takes out the rewatchability of a show.
Remember we talked about, I don't think you'd watch it, but you and I talked about briefly Lovecraft Country, because HBO did the same thing. One season and then so long. But it actually had, its season 1 was self-contained. Now, there was the potential for more, the way it was written, but it was a self-contained story, so at least there was a satisfying watch, and as you say, rewatchability. You
know what's kind of funny? It's that it's like we watch these shows with these fictional characters who are like, you know, fighting against the powers that be, the sinister powers that be. And, you know, we have like, no matter how many fictional apocalypses that Buffy saves us from, there's like a sinister powers that be outside of the show itself that always brings the unavoidable apocalypse. It's like, it's nothing that anybody can be rescued from, unfortunately. But you know, I think, and maybe this is just kind of like trying to dress the body well in the coffin, but it seems like even if, like, you know, we all want to kind of go out heroically, like jumping into the jaws of something or like around our loved ones. But I feel like even if we just get hit in the face by a bus or like, you know, our collateral damage, I think it's just as worthy of a life as getting to 8 or 9 seasons. I think it was still worth watching, and you know, no matter at whatever point the show goes out or stops producing new episodes, it's still whole. Like whatever we saw was a whole round experience that was satisfying, and I think that's good enough.
I would agree with you. Those, like even just the 6 we have right now, that is great storytelling. As I've gone on about multiple times, just all the pieces work so well together, and everyone's kind of firing on all cylinders, and yeah.
Because all shows turn bad, like Game of Thrones went all the way to the end, and then people just hated it when it was like had its 8th season with the relationship and stuff and her turning evil. So, I mean, what show has had a satisfying conclusion that has lasted very long?
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the whole thing, but we discussed that with the whole Firefly thing too, right? It's like, sometimes there's an advantage to getting canceled early because you never got a chance to get bad. So, according to the Deadline report, the second part, Season 1B, has yet to be scheduled and will now air on a new channel platform, as we discussed. A producer from The Nevers also reached out to us to confirm that Season 1B episodes will air next year, and Elizabeth Barrington, Lucy Best, replied to our Instagram post with, "There's a plan, don't you worry." Any thoughts on that? And secondary to that, the article also notes that the storyline has been crafted in a way that concludes with Season 1B. Okay.
So if I'm reading the coding in this correctly, Lucy Best spinoff show confirmed? There's a plan.
Well, hey, you know what? They put her on a boat.
Yeah,
the last time we saw her,
they're like, Lucy. We see where she goes, what she does.
Oh, I think you're onto something. And yeah, I've been very bad at following anyone's Instagrams but my own. But yeah, there's a couple replies in the Nevers feed, and yeah, so it's kind of nice that at least the work that you guys had done made enough of an impact that people involved had reached out to Matthew and the Nevers podcast as a whole.
I was confused about, because I understand if they don't want to make more episodes, but I don't understand the kind of shipping off of things off the platform, especially when they own it and it's original property and they're not licensing it from anybody. Sure, you pay residuals, but don't you want a library of stuff that people can have?
Well, I mean, this is the thing that I imagine. We've had other conversations with things like capitalism, and for those who aren't in the know, in America, businesses are beholden to their shareholders, and Warner Discovery is a publicly traded company, which means that the parasites, shareholders, I don't know where that came from, have to get paid first. So, because they did the merger, they're doing everything to make sure they show a profit and pay out those dividends. As far as creative endeavors and artistic product quality and consistency over a long time scale is not something that's in the mix.
Yeah, what's kind of interesting about capitalism is that without it, we would not have had the resources or the scale to produce something artistically like the Nevers, but also because of it, whatever that is and whatever art is just cheapened by the very existence of like a quantification of it. And it's like that U2 song, I Can't Live With or Without You.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing how the new writing staff or replacement writing staff has been able to conclude the story in a satisfying way. But I mean, they were given 2 extra episodes. They were given lots of time to film it, so I feel like that they weren't rushed.
I think that the way that the Nevers is paced as well, you can get through a hell of a lot in one episode, but in a way that doesn't feel rushed. They've kind of like set that precedent already in the way that the episodes run. I think we're hopefully a good second half of the season coming for us.
What was the experience like for you guys to rewatch it for like the second or third time, I'm assuming? Because you did a live reaction to the entire season so far.
Yeah, Laura did all the heavy lifting. I just joined in and said my piece.
I was going to say, I was more the person that's like, well, this is what just happened. Oh yeah, look at that. And Jason was deep diving into everything. No. Yeah, it was good. I think I'd watched it twice, kind of during, or like once during and once possibly a little bit after the recordings of the first podcast during like the airing of the first part. And then, yeah, I hadn't watched it for a little bit before we did the live stream because I kind of wanted it to feel... I didn't want to watch it in preparation for the live stream. I wanted it to be a little bit more fresh so that kind of our reactions and our feelings about it were. So we were pretty honest about it. We did, you know, we weren't... we don't like to be super biased. You know, we're going to pick anything that we don't like about it, the same as we would with any TV show.
I feel like our complaints were, because we looked at it critically. I feel like our complaints were pretty limited.
Oh, yeah.
It was, even on rewatch, it held up extremely well. And then of course you notice all those things that you missed the first time or two because there's so much happening, right? Because once you've watched it a couple times, then you can look at the more subtle nuance happening on screen. And you catch things that, you know, the first time your brain you didn't see it, but your brain did. But, you know, the way Lucy does something, you're like, oh, her being a spy was there the whole time. Things like that. So it was really good. But we also We had trouble staying on topic, eh?
I think at the end of every episode, we kind of veered off in, like, talking about that episode and what we liked and didn't like, but that just led into us talking about other things we were watching that we liked and didn't like, and just kind of comparing it to all the telly that was on at the moment. And I think at the time that we did the live stream, I don't think I in particular was, if my memory serves me right, and my memory's terrible, but here we go. I don't think I was particularly enjoying anything that I was watching at the time, particularly like live action stuff.
I feel like that was the case,
and that's still kind of how I'm feeling now. There have been a couple of things that I've really enjoyed that we'll discuss.
Yeah, no, so the rewatch was good. And like it was really good for me because, you know, when I found the Nevers, that's when I found the podcast. So I got to, you know, the first time listen to you guys. Like, I'd watch the episode, then listen to you guys talk about it, and then, you know, second pass, I get to take your seat, Chirag, and sit down with Laura and go through it, and so that was a lot of fun. And like I said, I do feel like we usually did a record for like a couple hours, eh? Like we did the run, and then we just kind of just let the conversation go where it would, and talked about this and that, and not just Whedon stuff, but a bunch of other stuff, and it felt very natural, which I kind of liked.
I was going to say, it kind of leads us into our next bit, yeah.
What have you guys been watching?
Oh, again, I guess since the time we did the live stream on the last podcast, there's only been a couple major live action shows I've watched, which was probably Stranger Things and then most recently Wednesday. I'm mostly just really enjoying anime still. The anime, especially this season that we're in at the minute, is just really strong across the board. Yeah, really. It's just, it makes me like live action things less and less the more awesome anime gets. Like I say, Nevers is one of the first live actions that's like really, really held my attention, and there's been something like fresh and new that looks great, has a good story, good actors, just kind of across the board. Pretty much every other live action show I've watched, I can like really pick apart, and it just ends up like, I don't think I'll go back and rewatch them. Pretty much all the shows that I watch on like Netflix and things like that, I don't think they have great rewatch value. Whereas like the Nevers and then a lot of the anime I watch, every time there's a new season, I will rewatch the old stuff to like lead me into it. And I think that's the thing with streaming. I saw a post about it the other day. A lot of people just don't do that anymore. Like they get excited for the new season, you sit down to press play on the new season and you forget what happened in the old one because you've not rewatched it. Whereas I think back when like when I used to follow TV and I'd buy the DVD box sets and stuff, I'd sit and before the new one comes out, I'll sit and rewatch up to that point, then get my new box set. And then you do that every time.
Wow, you're talking about ancient history. That's
DVDs,
that's a Jurassic period.
I've actually started buying DVDs again, just because I'm like, I'm so tired of paying like $100 a month for like 8 streaming services, and when I want to go to watch something, like no one has it.
That's why I will never get rid of my favourite DVDs. I have like my collection, and I will never get rid of them because it's that. You want to sit down and watch your favourite film, and it's not on any of them. Yeah,
well, exactly.
I've been watching, I think I texted you guys this because it reminded me of Dollhouse, which was Severance.
Oh,
Have you guys seen that?
It's on my watch list.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. It's like, I mean, I watched it like now 6 months ago, so my admiration of it is less rememberable, but I feel it's like, okay, so the premise is just like, imagine if you were going into work in the morning and like the whole day was instantly over and you were on your way home in the evening as soon as you leave work, because there's another version of you. Because the company, I don't know if I'm being articulate at all, but the company severs people's brain, and like half of their identity is the worker and the other half is the guy who's off, and they don't have access to each other's, like, they don't know of each other. I mean, they do, but they can't like communicate, right? They can't access that. So, I mean, I just realized how much of a fucking villain I am in my own life, for compartmentalizing a work version of myself and subjecting that guy to corporate enslavement while the off-work version of me enjoys the fruits of the other guy's labor. It's such an interesting thing talking about capitalism, and it's like the office that they're all working in is like a paranasi. It's like all of humanity, and there's like hallways that have not been discovered yet, and religions between different departments that are like warring against each other, and like a mysterious founder who they talk about like a god and stuff like that. And it's such a good show. And I'll shut up about it, but also I think it reminds me of Dollhouse, because they're both using science fiction to talk about identity. And when your identity gets wiped away, the fact that humanity still persists. Like, people can't just be programmed and mechanized because we're not robots. We're still gonna fall in love and suffer and celebrate and, yearn for meaning and purpose and all that stuff. So, like, in the light of all this open AI stuff that's happening right now, and Neuralink and nonsense, I feel like it's important to remember that automating art is dehumanizing. It's like shitting on, and it's cheapening like the expression of the soul, in my opinion.
There was a passion behind that to get that little primer about it, and that's what I want to feel in my TV series, and that's what I felt in watching the Nevers, because as we've all discussed in various forms, like, hey, here's the show that's about women with superpowers, but that's not what it's about. It's about, it's anti-capitalist. It's pro, anti-toxic masculinity, anti-old white guy, pro women having agency over their lives and their bodies, etc., etc. So yeah, it's and I haven't really found that. Like, talk about what we've been watching. What I've been watching is nothing. I mean, the best thing I watched recently was Orville season 3, because Seth MacFarlane really knocked it out of the park, telling amazing sci-fi, allegorical. Everything has a place. Every story had a purpose and a theme, and just things that connect. So that was kind of the best I've seen. It's like, as I've said when Laura and I were discussing various things when we were doing the rewatch, new Star Trek for depth sucks. Strange New Worlds is pretty good, but it does not reach the depth of storytelling that, we'll call it, Golden Age Trek had. Because there's a lot of people like, ooh, old Trek's awesome, new Trek sucks. I'm like, no, at least 50% or more of old Trek, anything for the last 50 years, sucked. Take the rose-colored glasses off. But Orville was able to go deep into the storytelling and really, really take things apart, and I appreciated that. And it's another one that's probably gone. Like, they did 3 seasons, it's probably not coming back, and that's unfortunate.
It's canceled.
Well, yes and no. In that, Fox canceled after season 2, Hulu picked up for another season, but that was it. So it's not canceled so much as there's just nothing moving forward, and it probably won't. Because everyone was released from their contracts at the end of the Hulu season, so there's probably not going to be any more. I would say it's probably the best thing as far as TV that I've watched recently. Because I'm hesitant to get into new shows, because I'm like, am I going to get into it, and is it going to get canceled?
Well,
I don't have the emotional bandwidth.
You don't have to worry about that with Atlanta, because I just watched the series premiere this morning, actually, and I'm still kind of high off of how good it is. Like,
I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah, my passion for Severance is equaled by Atlanta for sure. Especially the last episode. It's so good.
Yeah, it's on my radar, and that's only like, I haven't really. I've heard Atlanta's good, but when I see Donald Glover's involved, I'm like, I already have a great deal of trust in his ability. So I'm like, I'm kind of pre-sold already.
You know what's interesting though, because Donald Glover's kind of electric in almost anything I've seen him in, but in Atlanta he's like very subtle and boring, which is really interesting because he has such charisma, but his character in Atlanta is so like, I don't know, it's so unreactive, not comedically theatrical or inexpressive. It's an interesting choice. And, I think a lot of shows like have A stories, B stories, C stories, and things like that, but they stay separate and compartmentalized to an extent.
Yeah.
Atlanta does this thing that I've never seen from a lot of other shows, which is like their A story and B story interact with each other. It manages to seamlessly interweave these things together. And they don't stay separate, and they have these really bizarre interactions in a way that is kind of loopy. Like, if you've seen, those like Instagram stories that end where they started, so it's kind of like a loop that forms an infinite circle. It's like Atlanta figured out how to be narratively loopy in a way that I have never seen from a TV show. It's so good. Highly recommend that.
I mean, I will say that I'm just about finished American Dad.
I was just going to say
18
how many
seasons. 18 seasons of American Dad. I think I had like 6 episodes to go to get caught up, and because it's still silly, but it's narratively more focused than Family Guy, right? So it's it's that whole irony of like here's my show where I'm making fun of conservatives and whatnot, because Stan means well, but he's a big stupid oaf who has backwards views and his own views consistently hurt him in storytelling. But that's dessert. I mean, there's no depth to it.
Game of Thrones? House of Dragon?
I do not watch.
You don't watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
huh?
I watched 3 seasons. I'm like, nah, I'm done with this.
I never liked Game of Thrones. I watched like the first episode, and then I just really didn't like it. I was at someone's house and I was watching an episode of House of Dragons, and I was actually kind of like, this is quite interesting. This is better than Game of Thrones. Like, I was at the point where I was like, should I watch this show? And maybe if I get bored one day, I will, because it seemed more intriguing to me than Game of Thrones ever did. And the actors and everything seemed much better.
Well, you'll be glad to know that soon HBO will be renamed the Game of Thrones Network. And that's actually why all the other shows are being canceled, because the money is being redistributed to just a slew of Game of Thrones spin-offs. That's what everything's being replaced by.
I will say $18.99 looks interesting.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I've not watched it yet, but it's on my list.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but the trailers are intriguing. And you guys have watched Wednesday. I haven't checked it out.
I really enjoyed the show. It was good. I was looking forward to it for a long time because Addams Family is totally my jam. Yeah, it was a good series. It's nice to see that Tim Burton, who is a famous film director, can put together such a great TV show. Like, with nice pacing and good story and everything. Like, better than a lot of the other people making TV shows out there at the minute. Not as weird as it wasn't that, it was pretty low key, honestly. But it was dark and it was funny. Had enough interesting characters. Costume was great. Costume was really great. Good music. Yeah, there was a few bits about it that were not incredible and that I didn't really like. But not enough to ruin the show. It's just a show overall. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and will probably watch again in the future. It was very I wasn't expecting it to be such a mystery adventure drama, but it's basically her being detective. So, and it really keeps you on your toes the whole season. I kept being I know who done it. I know who it is. I know, and it keeps throwing you left, right, and centre. I like how it is very interesting, and I like how separated it is from the Addams Family. So they're only in the first episode when they drop her off at school, and then they're in the third or fourth episode where it kind of revisits moments from Morticia and Gomez's past. And that would be, for me, probably the weakest episode. The stuff that was happening was interesting, but for me, I love their casting. Absolutely adore Catherine Zeta-Jones. But I just don't think that they gelled together as naturally as one would want, because they're supposed to be, the epitome of what a couple is, and, love each other unconditionally in their own weird way. But, they're, couple goals. But yeah, it didn't. It felt almost a little bit forced and a little bit cringy. But everything that was literally just Wednesday, being Wednesday at her school, you kind of forget that she's Wednesday Addams. She's just her very own person, and it's a whole new depth to this character that like we've not seen before, and all the other characters and the kids at the school.
I mean, look, I'm not a huge Tim Burton fan, but at least he has a style and a vision, and that's pretty cool. I watched the ILM documentary. This is all about the early, how George Lucas formed ILM because no one could do the visual effects he needed for Star Wars. So he had to create everything from scratch. And so it's about creating the company and how it then became its own entity, because there was never any plans for it to exist beyond Star Wars, right? And how it just evolved into a post-production house.
That's
what
Jim Cameron's doing too,
it's very
I
interesting
believe, with Avatar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, if no one else... Well, yeah, because... Yeah, same thing. The things he wants to do, no one else can do, so he's got to develop it all himself. And now we're talking about things. Ted Lasso. Well, okay, because I watch it, then I actually end up binging the two existing seasons very quickly, because it is such a good show. And it's that whole thing when you get into storytelling, right? Like, it's called Ted Lasso, and we're following him because he's the protagonist. He's driving the plot forward. But the first season is actually about the team owner and her getting over her traumas and whatnot. And then season 2, we start looking at why is Ted the way he is? Like, what's caused him to be this super nice, always look on the bright side guy. And then we talk about his past issues and whatnot. It's a very heartwarming show. We need more. Honestly, we need more of that. Less dark, less gritty, less awful, less... Look, we already know humanity's terrible. You don't need to remind us 15 times a day with new shows. Can we look at some of the brighter stuff, please?
Talking about... Chirag mentioned Hayao Miyazaki. There is a new film coming out, directed by the...
July.
In retirement, out of retirement, in retirement. So Studio Ghibli movie by Hayao Miyazaki. So he just loves making films. It's like, I think he just tries to retire, and no, it's just really in him. Like even, so From Up on Poppy Hill is a very kind of just real world movie, nothing mystical or adventurous about it, just very real people. And it was his son's second directorial debut, but he ended up coming on board. He just can't help it. And he pays very close attention to just, this person's just walking into a room, but everything about that has meaning and is beautiful, and animating very simple things like that and making sure that they all together just build this amazing film.
It seems to me like Miyazaki does better than, or I don't want to compare it to anybody, but he does it in such a good way, which is like finding the magic in the ordinary. Yeah. And it kind of lives at this intersection between childhood and innocence and beauty and magic, and getting old and forgetting about it all. And it's, what's better than what movie is more anti-capitalist than Spirited Away?
Well, I was going to say that, I love the Miyazaki films that are, the mystical and the adventurous and everything, but they're very real life ones. From Up on Poppy Hill and Whisper of the Heart, especially. They're both just very real world, kind of day in the life, or a few days in the life of. And they're probably some of my favourite. So I don't know if a lot of people that have seen, Spirited Away, Your Howl's Moving Castle have gone really into the world of Ghibli, but those are just as good. Really, really fantastic movies. Don't watch Grave of the Fireflies unless you really, really want to be depressed for ever. It's literally one of those films you just think about every now and then you feel just as depressed again as when you watched it. So coming out of the depressing note, anything else I watched? I've been going to the cinema more. What did I see? I saw... Oh, Don't Worry, Darling. I enjoyed it. It was I hadn't been to the cinema for a while, especially to see a live action film. Something that wasn't Disney. So So I enjoyed my cinema going experience. The movie has some pacing issues for me, and I would have liked it to have delved into more areas rather than others. But it was like, it was an alright film. It was a shame. Well, on a plus, it had all that controversy like surrounding it, which publicized it heavily more. Not that it needed publicizing. It has Florence Pugh in it, and she is like the biggest up and coming actress of the moment.
Well, it's got a great cast.
Yeah, and you know what, Harry Styles, for someone that's not a trained actor, is good. Is fine. Like, people like really rip him apart, and I'm like, look, there are trained actors that have been doing this forever, and they suck more than he does. Like, so give the guy a break. Do you know what I mean? He does a good job.
So you heard it here first from Laura. He doesn't suck.
He's all right.
He was great in Dunkirk.
He was great in Dunkirk.
Did he have any lines? Or was I'm trying, like, I watched Dunkirk, but he was like the group on the beach.
Yeah, in the boat wreck,
was running away, and yeah.
But it's like, it was just super tense. I only saw it the once in cinema, and again, you know, it's kind of depressing. Like, I think once was enough.
Well, if you want depressing, Christopher Nolan's doing Oppenheimer.
Oh, that looks, I will see that. That's got a stellar cast.
Look, I think it's going to be great, but for me, most Christopher Nolan movies are a single watch. I rarely come back to them.
Okay.
I feel like with Oppenheimer, they're just setting it up to bomb. I mean, not even by virtue of its title association, but I don't know who's like, because he makes movies for like $200 million, and I don't know if that many people are going to go and pay to see like a historical drama starring every person in Hollywood.
I do think it's gonna. I mean, I think it's broad spectrum. Will it do well? I don't know. Will it have Chris Nolan fans? Yeah. I mean, is there enough of them? Maybe.
But, you know, it's not Batman. And talking about Batman, I also saw Amsterdam with Christian Bale in, and it had other people in it too, but really for me it was just like a Christian Bale enjoyment movie, because he was great in it and it focused a lot on him. It was nice to just go to the cinema and enjoy a Christian Bale movie. The movie was okay. It was funny at times. It had Mike Myers in it, and he's great. Just waiting on that Austin Powers 4 movie.
Is that a thing that's actually happening?
No, I'm just like, for years now I've been saying, do you know what the world needs? The world needs more Austin Powers movies.
My favorite thing about that franchise is the Seth Green character who is the lone oasis of dramaticism in a movie of absurdities. He's like the only guy who's behaving real and is actually hurt and traumatized. And he's in like, and I think I heard somewhere, he's in a soap opera in like a real dramatic Shakespearean thing, in the middle of just, yak.
Yeah.
And he's so good. Have you guys seen Cobra Kai by chance? A new season just dropped this year. It's on Netflix. Are you Karate Kid fans?
I am not.
You're not? The original movie?
No, and I grew up. I was a kid. I was the same age as the Karate Kid, or roughly the same age as Ralph Macchio when it was out. Yeah, no, I never got into it.
I was going to say, I have an older brother and sister, so I kind of grew up on 80s movies, but yeah, Karate Kid was never one that was like, just like in our family watching zone. It just wasn't.
Well, it's amazing. It's like, it's kind of built for itself, its own universe of Karate Kid, and it kind of pulls from the past, and it kind of like all nostalgia fare, but I've never seen it done better than in Cobra Kai. And it's
I've actually,
every episode is like an end game where different characters are coming out of portals from Karate Kid 2 or 3 or something.
I've heard nothing but good things about it, though. I will say that, which is always nice.
Yeah. There's like, the best thing about Cobra Kai is it's so ridiculous, and so it's like they're kids in a karate class, and everything is taken so seriously, and there's like Shakespearean grudges and rivalries and love triangles and childhood brutality like you have not seen. And they do it so well, the brutality part. And there's like karate gangs fighting in high school and stuff. It's amazing. And my feeling about it is that it's like a metaphor for politics in America, because Billy Zabka, who plays the bully in the original Karate Kid, he's the protagonist here, and he's kind of like the blue collar anti-woke guy who's like who'll call you out with the politically incorrect word. And Daniel LaRusso, the Karate Kid, is kind of like the condescending elite liberal, and the story is about them we all want them to become friends, and they should be friends, but there's forces that are pushing them apart and misunderstandings and this and that. And it's like this kind of flirting between the Karate Kid and the bully, representing these parts of America that throughout in a very interesting way.
So once again, this is my problem with watching new content, is I don't trust the advertisements, so I'm hesitant to get involved. Now, when I talk to someone, like, you know, you describe it in that fashion, like, okay, that seems interesting to me. Because that whole thing's like, so when you ask someone, what's it about, and they tell you the plot, I'm like, no, I don't care what happens. What is it about? That's what I want to know. That's what I'm interested in. So yeah, when you describe it that way, I'm like, okay, that sounds like something I would definitely be into watching.
You're right that there are so many, like, I've seen so many adverts for things, and you just have no idea what it's about or what it's for. And it's like, oh, that might look pretty, but like, I don't want to have to search through the internet to find what your thing is. Like, can you just tell me? And that's similarly just to like the promotion of things, like in general. I went to see Disney's latest film, Strange World, and again, I went to see it at the cinema, and it was really good. But I'd literally only seen one teaser trailer for it beforehand, like months before. I hadn't seen a full trailer, and it seems like Disney...
Is that the one that...
It bombed at the box office because Disney literally did not promote it at all.
It bombed, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not the film's fault because Disney obviously didn't want it to do well. Disney and other people, they know what they want to be successful. I know last year or the year before, whenever it was, because time in the last 3 years, I have no idea what happened when. Luca came out on Disney Plus, and I absolutely loved it. Fantastic movie. I went to Disneyland, and they had like no merchandise for it. Encanto was coming out, and there was merchandise for Encanto everywhere. They were telling people that the film was good and to buy the merchandise before the film had even come out. And then Encanto becomes like the biggest hit, and you know everybody loves it. I did not. It was fine. It was like not a great movie. Like, and then there's other movies that don't get promoted at all, and they're fantastic. And it's just like, wow, you were literally picking and choosing, like, and not brainwashing, but kind of like people to like what you want to like, which is insane. If you could make every single thing you're making super successful just by promoting it. Literally just by letting people know that it exists. Like, why are you pumping out... Like, Disney are pumping out so much content, they're not even promoting it all. What's the point? It's frustrating.
Yeah.
The fact that, like, someone would film an entire TV show, completely basically do all the post-production and then not put it out into the world is just insane.
So, guys, what now?
Yeah, what now? That is the question.
Now you and I had talked about doing Dr. Horrible.
We did mention that, yeah. I wouldn't mind. It's something that's easily done. It's hard to watch Dr. Horrible without singing along, but
I mean, you're right.
I think talking and laughing along with fans would be better.
Yeah, I think like for me at least, doing a reaction of Dr. Horrible will be 99% singing and along to Dr. Horrible.
It's one of those. It's such a unique little piece that came out of just this weird time, the writers' strike and whatnot, and then just producing this little weird, unique piece of content.
So yeah, I think doing that as a live stream, if fans would like that, we're definitely on board.
Yeah, absolutely. You gonna join us for that one, Shrug?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but there's more to talk about though, right? Because there is going to be 6 more episodes at some point somewhere. So we still have that to look forward to.
Yes, we will do that.
In question mark time. Yeah, who knows?
Have you guys seen Wakanda Forever?
No.
I actually have been really, really bad at watching the new Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Really?
I watched Doctor Strange and I watched Thor, but that's about it.
Why did you watch Thor?
And She-Hulk.
No, I watched Thor as well. I wish I could get those 2 hours back.
Oh, it was good. I liked Thor.
Thor has become my favorite character because because of if you look at his arc over all the movies in Marvel, not just the Thor movies specifically. And look, this is the thing. Like, everyone's hanging Taika Waititi out to dry, which you gave the man a movie, and this is what he came with. Why are you surprised with the result you get? But also, Kevin Feige, you can piss right off because you gave it the green light. You got the script. He gave you a script that you approved. And like, no, Taika Waititi's out. This movie's terrible. Now, and look, it is terrible because Ragnarok was brilliant. Its balance of comedy and drama was perfect. Perfect. Whereas Love and Thunder, any dramatic moment, except at the end, they ruined it with a joke. It was bad writing. It was bad decision-making on the part of everyone. But to see Chris Hemsworth out again, absolutely. To see Jane Foster come back, yes, there's a lot of good about it. And ultimately, the story is good. I mean, the truth is, Christian Bale as the God Killer is the more interesting character in the movie. Even though he didn't get enough screen time, we didn't really get enough to work with him, which is unfortunate. Anyway, sorry, long thing.
He is basically atheism. Gore the God Butcher?
Yeah.
His character is atheism in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he starts, and yeah, like I said, I'm like, and that's the thing. The opening of Ragnarok is strong. Like, that's a very, very solid premise to build your movie off of. 100%. It just when you gave Taika the choice to focus on the drama that's happening or tell a joke, he told a joke, and that was stupid, and he should have known better. It's not what we do in the shadows. It's Thor, which needs to be handled with equal parts of humor and seriousness, because that's just how the character works.
You know what's really interesting about that examination of it, which is that Thor himself, his whole shtick, like the conceit of Thor, is his ego and his self-regard and that kind of stuff, right? Which is taking yourself seriously, and the Taika Waititi direction is taking things not seriously. Mm-hmm. And when the subject of your movie is Thor, but not only Thor, but like thematically that movie is about God and religion and meaning and purpose. That's what Love and Thunder is about. Mm-hmm. And like, you have to, I think, go absurdly comic to counterbalance the seriousness of religion, because it is possibly the most powerful institution on the planet. Mm-hmm.
There's a few moments, like that aside, like the individual moments between characters that were ruined because of that. Like the whole thing with Zeus and when they go to whatnot. I think the humor there was served very, very well. I think like it fit that whole segment of the movie. But yeah, and look, I understand that Thor is lost and broken after the events of from Ragnarok to Infinity or Endgame. I understand that, and he has to find himself again. It's just like I said, it wasn't handled as well as it could have been. Look at was it a waste of 2 hours? No, there's entertainment value in it, but it is a unworthy successor to Ragnarok, if that makes sense.
Like Thor was an unworthy successor to Odin.
There he is.
Laura, you were going to say something?
Yeah, sorry, Laura.
Sorry.
Honestly, what were we talking about before that? We'll just talk about what's next. what's next? The other thing that is a possibility for us to continue on is to resume the Dollhouse Awaken series. So we did kind of talk about just doing like season reviews, or maybe even like clumps of episodes, like as opposed to like episode by episode, because it does have quite a lot of filler and episodes that don't really mean or amount to anything in it. But
yeah, I watched both seasons, but I wasn't into it.
See, this was like I watched it, and then I remember it came into Blockbuster, and we watched it because it was a Whedon show, and then I must have watched it like 2 or 3 times before the second season come out. I've watched it a lot. I do watch it a lot. Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a really good show. Like I say, there are episodes where it's like, this one's a bit long, and you just kind of get through it, but the second season, especially once the whole kind of arc kicks in and you have this not just episode by episode, but the story really starts to build. I love it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, and I don't think I've seen it in at least 10 years, so my memory of it is very foggy, but I like its exploration of identity. I like what it's trying to talk about, even if it's stepping on eggshells and being PG, because it's on network television and not like a premiere service or streaming. Because at that time, I'm sure there were concessions that had to be made creatively. But I want to revisit Dollhouse. It's just a time commitment. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I've said it before that Dollhouse, I feel like if it had come out in the era like when Westworld was first airing, for example, like I didn't enjoy Westworld, but it had a large viewing.
If it came out like Westworld, it would have been cancelled by Warner Brothers Discovery. And
yeah, but Westworld, in my opinion, is not very good, and it's had however many seasons.
Right.
Dollhouse got cancelled by the end of like the first one. They were allowed to make like and finish their second season, but they knew they were done.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, we don't want to do the Firefly thing 2 times."
Yeah, they were allowed to finish the story.
If we do continue the Dollhouse Awaken podcast, I strongly recommend that we rename it Dollhouse Woke instead of Awaken. And I feel like that will generate a lot more interest on online in our advantage. You know, it's a keyword, buzzword.
It's all about keywords, yeah.
Yeah.
We also have a very special episode of the podcast in the works, but that's a secret for now. But it should be good. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you guys, like ideas for future episodes?
Actually, that's a question that's been on my mind. Is what happens? Yeah, like there's 6 more episodes that we can discuss at some point.
Oh, after the Nevers.
What happens after that? Do we disband or do we?
Honestly, if we could find between us, every season of the year, not like season of TV, but a TV show that is new out that we're all kind of like, yeah, we're going to watch that, then I'm personally happy to talk about, as we have done in this episode of the podcast. We all are semi-passionate and into watching our television, so if there's a show that we're all like, that looks great, I'm happy to talk about and follow. Yeah, so if the fans are happy for us to talk about the new big shows that are coming out, to watch along and delve into them, then I think we're all kind of on board for that.
Can we the song Where Do We Go From Here from Once More With Feeling? Can we do?
Are you gonna sing it?
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we do a sing along like answer, like the climax of that song?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, since reading this, like how that one goes.
Life's not a song. Life isn't bliss. Life is just this. It's living. You'll get along.
Oh, it's that one. Yeah, so do I.
The pain that you feel only can heal. It's a good song, yeah.
It is. It really is.
They make very interesting choices. It's not like it's not your standard melodies and harmonies, and it goes where you don't expect it to go.
It's the best episode of television about depression, I feel like.
Yeah, so thanks for listening as always. As always, you can stream the Nevers podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube, and most of pretty much any other podcasting apps. For more Nevers-related content, you can visit us on the interweb at hbothenevers.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at HBO The Nevers and The Nevers Podcast. On Instagram, and then The Nevers Podcast without the A. That one's on Twitter. Any comments or questions, send them to theneverspodcast@gmail.com. And in future episodes, we can answer those and chat about what you guys think. If you enjoy the Nevers Podcast, please consider leaving us a positive review. This is where I'll say thank you to my co-hosts and invite.
No, Laura, thank you.
I know Chirag's
it's a pleasure as always.
I'm just always wondering what Chirag's going to tell the people when I ask him to plug his social media and other such things. So take it away.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I've taken a cue from HBO and I've canceled my Twitter. And, so, yeah, I guess I'm on Instagram, but that's private. So you can't get in touch with me. No, I'm inaccessible.
What about you, Jason?
You can find me everywhere at Jason's Model Shop because that's where I'm putting all my energy. Building models and talking about models and selling models. Sci-fi and pop culture. Star Trek, Star Wars, Back to the Future. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Jason's Model Shop everywhere. Everywhere.
If you want to follow me for whatever reason, you can catch me on Instagram or on Twitch at LauraJP1721. Much like Jason. I don't, it's very nerdy. On Twitch, it's just like gaming. I try to, I feel like finding time to play video games now is difficult. So if I'm like, I'm going to stream later, then I'm making sure that I'm putting aside some gaming time. And then I do talk with Tig about mostly anime, because, you know, anime is king. And then, yeah, but like, you know, it's not like a fame following thing. It's Twitch is slow going. But
yeah.
This has been the Nevers Podcast. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you again to Jason and Chirag. And we will see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone.